cassava. But this crop suffers cassava brown streak disease, a disease that's cited as 7th most dangerous in plant. Kenya, a country known for World Athletics Championships, has a solution. After 20 years of research, Kenya has approved 3 biotech crops. They approved Bt cotton and Bt maize, and in 2021, cassava resistant to cassava brown streak. What does this mean to a country that is still food insecure with a limping manufacturing sector?
Every profitable agricultural system is underpinned by strong access to superior seeds genetics that will enable the farmer to produce more.
In an effort to avail to Kenyan farmers genetically superior seeds, local scientists have been working on various biotech crops, some of which have already been commercialized.
Now the leading crop, of course, is the Bt cotton. Now Bt cotton is the first product that was at least has moved on to full commercialization, and it's already down with the farmers. This is a project that has also gone through the various phases of research in containment, confined field trials, and the final approval for commercialization was given in 28th of January 2020.
Tofauti ya hii Bt cotton na hii ni kwamba tunapanda hii ya Bt mbegu mbili, lakini hii tunaweka kama 5 hivi. Hii ya Bt inamea tu, ikifika hapo karibu inchi 4 inaanza kutoa flowers. Lakini hii yetu hii inachukua muda kabisa. Na hii Bt inakaa kabisa kunyunyusia dawa ni mpaka wakati wa karibu kuvuna. Lakini hii unanyunyusia wakati kama ni njine na kuenda juu mpaka wakati imekuwa namna hii sasa.
We have been able to give farmers these superior seeds, and the farmers are happy because they see higher yields, they see lower costs in terms of production because they are using less chemicals, and it's also safer for the environment because we are not killing, because most of the chemicals are not selective, so they kill non-target insects that are beneficial to other cropping systems.
The key characteristics of Bt is that it protects itself from bollworms. We know cotton before, farmers needed to spray between 12 times to 15 times to get a sensible crop at the end of the season. But now with Bt, farmers will probably require between 3 to 4 sprays to protect the crop against whiteflies, aphids, and mites, and then stainers, which are not managed by the Bt.
Hii bamba nilikuwa nimelima Bt eka 2, na hii ingine akaita nilikuwa nimelima eka 2, na Bt nimefuna kilo 280, na hii ingine akauta nimefuna kilo 40. Sasa nikilinganisha hii na hii ingine, naona Bt inafanya vizuri kuliko hii ingine. Na wakati ingine naona nitaendelea kupanda Bt peke yake, sababu ndio naona iko na mafuno nyingi kuliko hii ingine.
I will tell you for sure, as we will be number 1 beneficiary of the Bt cotton, and I can tell you why. When the president lifted the ban of the Bt cotton, it's a big celebration for us because of one thing is productivity of cotton. Because currently you are using recycled cotton, which is conventional cotton, which gives us maybe 300-400 kilos per acre. But you can imagine this Bt cotton will give us 3 times that. As Rivertex here, we provide the market access to those products. If we get the Bt cotton at the margin that we require 30,000, even 30,000 bales per year, we can definitely be able to say we are now Kenya, we are now proudly Kenyan, because we'll have all the raw materials sourced here.
We've started with cotton. I know that there are plans for other products, and it's always important to ensure that our farmers get access to the latest technologies, because that is what would incentivize them to stay and to continue producing more. Partnership between ourselves and the farmers and the industry would ensure that we can localize this chain, and therefore when we talk about Buy Kenya and Building Kenya, it will be something that is quite deep and starts from the farmer to the fashion designer.
In addition to BT cotton, Kenya has approved 2 other biotech food crops, BT maize and genetically modified cassava. This maize has been improved to resist the stem borer, which accounts for 30% loss in yields for farmers. The biotech cassava has been improved to resist cassava brown streak disease, which is a devastating disease for farmers because it causes up to 100% loss. And sadly, it is only during harvesting that farmers realize all their crop is lost. There are no known conventional methods so far to manage this disease. And so with the biotech tools that Kenyan scientists are using, it has already gone through the confined field trials, shown that it resists the disease, and submitted to the National Biosafety Authority.
The latest application that we have reviewed at the National Biosafety Authority is the brown streak resistant cassava. This, of course, is an application that has been with us through its phases of development from the laboratory confined field trials up to now. The application has gone through the due process, and our due process involves food and feed safety assessment, environmental risk assessment, and of course socio-economic considerations. It has passed all those stages, and that's how the board in its judgment approved the GM cassava for the next process, which is national performance trials.
Katika huo kulima upande wa mihogo huwa kuna zile changamoto huwa tunapitia kama wakulima, ambazo kuna magonjwa kama brown streak, na hizo sana sana huwa zinaingia kwa mzizi wa ule mhogo na unaathiri kile ambacho kiko ndani, ambacho kinaweza kikanisaidia kwa kupata mapato kidogo.
The challenge of cassava brown streak is it affects the part of the cassava that is eaten. So once the cassava is, the root itself is affected by the brown streak, it changes the color from what we call the white or cream into browning. Some of that browning can actually be very hard. It eventually becomes, it is destroyed and it can no longer be consumed either by animals or human beings. So this has become a major disease, and is considered to be one of the 7 most dangerous diseases in plants.
Ni vizuri kama tungepata mbegu ambazo zingekuwa zinaweza stahimili hayo magonjwa, na pia mbegu ambazo zinaweza stahimili pia ukame. Maana yake ukame pia ukiwa mwingi huwa tunapoteza mbegu sana.
The key challenges that have been hampering the uptake of this technology in Kenya and indeed in Africa are: 1, delayed decision making due to overlapping mandates among government agencies that are in charge of regulating or developing policies for biotechnology and biosafety. 2, lengthy, costly, and unpredictable regulatory process, and sometimes interference from politicians on the decisions that scientists make. 3, misinformation and aggressive activism against agricultural biotechnology due to varied perceptions about the safety to humans and the environment of biotech crops and foods, despite the long history of safe use.
For us as a regulatory agency, we are focused on safety to human and animal health, and safety to the environment. Now, any product that leaves our hands for commercialization, indeed, we would have carried out the due diligence to ensure that it is safe as a food and a feed, and it is also safe for the environment. This, of course, will have been done using standard protocols that are established in the global arena for food and feed safety, and also environmental safety. So anything that the National Biosafety Authority will approve for commercialization, or we have approved for commercialization, BT maize, BT cotton, and GM cassava, have gone through the rigor of this process, and I can confirm that they are safe as food and feed, and there are no environmental concerns. They are safe to our environment.
Moving forward, We are excited that biotech crops are now in the hands of Kenyan farmers, and they are going to demonstrate the impact and potential to all those doubting stakeholders. 2, we need to strengthen stewardship and proper management of biotech crops for optimal benefits to farmers, and to also ensure that we intensify grassroots sensitization to sustain this momentum. Lastly, as we celebrate the gains, we are cognizant of the fast developments of the biotech sector. At ISA AfriCenter, we have gained enormous experiences and learned many lessons that are key to accelerating advancements and uptake of new breeding tools such as genome editing. To this end, we invite you to join the African Coalition on Communicating about Genome Editing. This is an inclusive platform that is going to be instrumental in transitioning Africa from the debate mode to delivering modern biotech tools to our end users through a multidisciplinary and multi-sectoral approach to communications.
Nigeria, the most populous country in Africa. What does that mean? High food demand and demand for arable land. But farmers in this country were fighting with Maruca, the most devastating cowpea pest. Then in 2019 came a solution. The commercial cultivation approval for GM cowpea resistant to Maruca. If this cowpea reaches the hands of farmers the soonest, they will be able to produce more food using less land and less chemicals. In celebrating Africa's accomplishment in agri-biotechnology in the past 2 decades, join us. We are speaking to farmers, scientists, and other stakeholders.
Agriculture is the backbone of life. Agriculture cutting across from animal to plant to crops for industry, for eating. So there are a lot of things that biotechnology contribute, and there is NAFDA is doing a lot. Recently, with collaboration with other institutions, NAFDA has success in releasing 2 of the
tuilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Is one of the areas where we can very quickly generate wealth. And we have seen how our young people graduating from our various institutions of learning have gone into livestock farming. However, without sustainable supply of feeds, then it is becoming extremely difficult. So we want to reflect on those and see the global community, as we have known from evidence over the last 25 years or so, have adopted new innovations, including agricultural biotechnology, to propel the agricultural sector, including the livestock sector. What is it that we can do as a country to ensure that we can also harness those innovations, in addition to many others? Traditional farming, the traditional ways in which we are growing, conventional methods of growing our feeds, all these add up to something better for our farmers and for our country. So now this brings me to the other issue of looking at the health of our animals, the health of our people, and the health of our environment, or what we are popularly calling now the One Health approach. And this becomes very important because even when you are an organic farmer, you need to ensure that the manure you are growing your crops or your feeds is also certified, that it is also safe, so we don't get unsafe foods getting into the system through the feeds that we feed on. So the One Health means and when our environment is not safe, then we are not safe. That brings me to the topic of agricultural biotechnology. How are we assured of the safety of the products that are coming from agricultural biotechnology? A country like India, for example, that has adoption of 12 million hectares of BT cotton, the so-called insect-resistant cotton, has been able to revolutionize their livestock sector by getting the byproducts from the cotton seed cake, producing animal feed into seed cake, and that has actually made India #1 in terms of getting safer products to the market. So the question of safety is one issue that comes all the time, but we'll discuss it a little further. How do we ensure then that we can harness these products safely to ensure that our livestock are safe? Further afield in Asia, Asian countries, the Philippines, then the South and North America, Brazil, Argentina. For those who have traveled, our policymakers have very well traveled. They know that some of the best states and the best dairy products come from those countries that have actually used the technology to develop the livestock sector. So the question that we ask ourselves is, which country in the world would we like to benchmark on? And even as we benchmark, a lot comes out of the European state of affairs when it comes to production. But again, global evidence tells us that Europe imports close more. Count, we make science count in the way we put our case for developing an enabling environment for our livestock sector to rise up and feed the Kenyan population. So I'm really looking forward to a very lively discussion. It is a very open discussion. We are going to hear from a number of presenters, and as we listen in, 3 questions that should come to our mind that must come out of here with those answers. 1, why has it taken so long for us in Kenya to develop or to commercialize products of agricultural technology, both for food and for feed? And I'm sure our universities here will tell us whether we have the capacity that is needed to research and develop these products. 2, how safe are the products of modern biotechnology? And I'm very glad we have here the CEO, the Chief Executive of the National Biosafety Authority, who will let us know about how they assess the safety of food and feeds from modern biotechnology to ensure that what comes out is safe. Thirdly, we want to ask ourselves, is it possible that we can solve the problems we have today, given the climate change challenges, where we have emerging pests, we have emerging diseases? COVID just brought to our consciousness how interconnected we are, that we can never solve a problem as an individual country. How do we bring in these experiences from the global space and from our national research platforms to be able to deliver this?
Our farmers come to engage in this policy discussion, and I'm very happy that they are also coming. Different sectors, especially for me, I think I'll concentrate with the issues related to livestock sector. And for those who don't know me, my name is Harry Kimtai. I'm the Principal Secretary, State Department for Livestock in the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Cooperatives. So I was coming here, basically I was informed that today, which I know that it's a World Food Safety Day, and we are all celebrating this day because we are supposed to be aware and be conscious of the food that we're eating. And when you are in different stages of the value chain, you need to ensure that you play your role, make sure that this food is safe. Because food is only food when it is safe. If it is not safe, then it is not food, because I don't think anybody would want to get pick anything that has been dumped, and it is still, say it is bread that has been dumped because it has failed the test of safety, and you say, I'm eating bread. No, that's you're not eating bread, or you're not eating food. So you're eating actually some toxic things, and therefore, my coming here just to enlighten you on the issues related to give you a little bit of insight of the livestock subsector, so that you're able to look at it and say, if that is a space that is there in the livestock subsector, then as an investor, how do you take advantage of it? All right? What policies are there? What are we doing in the ministry or in the State Department for Livestock? Also to guide your conversation. And I was talking to my sister Zainab here, and I said, you know, sometimes we in the government have been coming as policymakers, talking. And I was telling her today, if it's a national dialogue, I think it is very good for me to sit down and listen. Because after listening, I'll be able to carry from you and then say, as a policy person, the person that is directing policy, how do I implement this? And I think there's a lot, if that is how to go about, then my sister, that's, today I want to be enriched. And I'm very happy that my brother, Dr. Mugera, is here. Sometimes we side with him, sometimes I tell him, hey, my policy here is telling me this. We cross each other. I say, I can't go that direction. So when he tells me, go this direction, I say, hey, no, there's this law. There's this ban. That kind of things. You see, cannot go this direction because of a ban. He tells me, go this direction. A research scientist tells me, go this direction because it is informed by science. But what does the policy say? That is again an area that I want to bring this to a discussion so that you as members who are participating in this, sorry, you know, we keep on using this technology and sometimes we have set it in a manner that we want to save energy. So you'll allow me to once in a while to open it because I've just put in some few remarks that I want to indicate here. Number one is basically, I want to tell you all about livestock and the role of livestock in our GDP. Livestock contributes to about 15%, and please note, 15% of our GDP. That is the role that livestock plays. But can it contribute more? Yes. It has a potential to contribute more. Why do I say this? It is because if you look at our country, we are talking about 15-20% of arable land. 80% to 85% arid and semi-arid. But you can see the challenges that are happening within the arid and semi-arid. If we develop those areas, which we know takes about also 80% of our livestock population. If we develop that area, if we take care of that resource within that area, then livestock is going to contribute more than the 15% that it contributes. And then when you talk of livestock, you know, sometimes you assume that livestock doesn't need care. It's like you just, once you have it, it's there. No, you have to take care of it. And therefore, the topic which Margaret was talking about on the issue of the animal feeds now comes in. Now, what is the capacity of our animal feed production in the country? I want to give you the statistics that we're supposed to produce to about 1.2 million metric tons, but we're operating with a deficit of about 500. Now, for investors, that's an opportunity. In fact, we've just used what's called the feed supplements. We've not even gone into the forage production, because sometimes we look at the feed, the supplements so much, and we quantify this in terms of the millers. But you see, there is also another area, the forage production, which is not being factored. Now that's another huge, huge potential area for investors to come in so that they are able to produce enough forage to support our pastoralists. Now, this is very practical. We're all aware that there's drought. Here for the last, I think, 2 years consecutively, we've had drought. If we can take the feeds to the animals, then we'll have the same, in fact, not even the same, we'll have more because they'll have added into weight, and therefore we'll have more in terms of the production and productivity of our animals. Now, when you talk of feeds, something again comes up. What is that? The issue of pricing. Prices comes in. It has to be costed. And therefore, we are saying that, and it's public knowledge, it's there, and His Excellency has pronounced himself, if you are aware, that the cost of animal feeds has gone so high that it is affecting the productivity or the profitability of the investments in the livestock subsector. So that's the challenge that we are facing in terms of, because if, for example, there's prolonged drought, that means you must have feed supplements to take to the animals, because the forage is depleted, and therefore the animal must feed. You must feed this animal. So as a result of that, the demand for animal feed supplements has gone up, because the areas that normally rely on forage now don't have forage. Therefore, you've got to give them the feed supplements. So, and then there's now pressure on those areas that were using the feed supplements just to supplement the forage, because there will be demand for it, and therefore the price, basically the issue of demand and supply comes in, because a businessman looks at the supply and demand, and where there is high demand, low supply, always the price will go up. That's another science that we've known. So what has this done to the livestock subsector? I want to tell you that it has, in fact, decreased our productivity or production for that level. In fact, I want to tell you that this has pushed some of the dairy farmers, for example, out of business completely. Completely. Because you're feeding an animal, giving you milk, definitely, but when you go and sell the milk, the price of milk vis-a-vis the cost of production, whatever you get cannot match the cost that you've invested. As a prudent investor, or any person who invests and say, always you must cut your losses. So I understand when some of these farmers say, I can't venture into this, I have to cut my losses because I cannot go on pumping in money from these other areas to go in feed the animal. And you're feeding the animal to sustain itself, but you're not even sure for how long, because you're not sure about this drought. So this has cut off some of the farmers, and they have pulled out. And if you have evidence, I have one farmer who I was trying to learn from him. You know, we are not all experts. So he was far ahead. So and when I went to his farm, very small unit, and he was producing a lot of milk. But he told me one day, I'm quitting this business. So I told him, why? I thought it is profitable. You know, sometimes we do farming without doing costing. And we do it all the time, especially us. Especially us, me and my brother here. Nasikia tutuma pesa. Hii tunahitaji. Wewe unatuma pesa, lakini when you sit down and do the calculation, and even an economist like me, you will say, sorry, that's a bad investment. So that guy did his investment, costing, cost-benefit analysis. I saw him starting to withdraw. So I didn't know, when I was buying from him, Kumbe was pulling out. So I was entering in. So you can imagine where I am. So you can imagine where I am. But the beauty of it, he again went to the same, different sector. He left dairy, he went into pork. Now he's telling me he's doing very well. In fact, he told me that he has opened 2 centers within our town there, Kitale, that he has opened 2 centers. Now he's producing, he's doing the whole value chain. He's producing, slaughters, he has his hotel, and Nyamachoma place. So that guy said he doesn't want anybody in between there. The only person he wants is the consumer. That's his client, and period. And he's very happy, comfortable. He was telling me now I'm able to afford educating my daughter, doing pharmacy, private, not normal. So you can see where he has gone. Wise decision. So when you see some of these farmers pulling out of some of this, we're not trying to push them, or as a government, we're not telling them. But we as a government then want to understand why. That's a question we ask ourselves, and ask them why. He only gave me one answer: the cost of feeds. They'll be forced to close their shops, and must have seen a lot of them closing their shops because the demand for their products are no longer there because it's too high for the farmer. What does it do? It again impacts even on His Excellency agenda of the Big Four. Now it impacts on the manufacturing direct, because you're closing more manufacturing facilities that were coming up, that were creating employment. So you've lost in the farming, All right? It has also reduced. We will not be able to achieve our 100% food and nutrition security. It has come down to manufacturing because they have closed down, and then it impacts across all sectors within the economy. So, and when you talk of trying to now pull the investors to come in the livestock sector, we quickly get that answer that, oh, it's not competitive. And now, that shifts the trade. That's why we are talking about issues also of trade. Now it shifts trade somewhere else. Pulls the trade from Kenya, it goes all the way now to areas where there's cheap production, cheap cost of raw materials. That's why you say, why is Uganda beating us? Right? Why is Uganda beating us? I think it now boils to that issue of availability and accessibility of the raw materials, and at what cost. So that's why now the shift trade goes to Uganda, Tanzania, and other areas. So I want to say that all this affects the competitiveness of our livestock subsector, and that's why our farmers have been struggling. But as I'm speaking here, I want to really appreciate His Excellency for directing that the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries and the National Treasury, the stakeholders, sit and come up with a framework. And you see, when you talk about framework,